Okay, today we're going to continue reading through the book of Proverbs. Should finish the book of Proverbs today. Last time we actually read through the Proverbs themselves, or at least the bulk of them, from chapters 10 to the middle of chapter 22. Now we're transitioning into a slightly different section of Proverbs, where instead of having a bunch of these little two-line pithy sayings, we're going to have a collection of 30 or thereabouts. I'm not sure if it's exactly 30 or rounded off to 30, but a collection of 30 different sets of instructions that are called sayings of the wise, or words of the wise. So we're starting here today in Proverbs 22. This is still the same guy speaking to the same guy. It's still Solomon speaking to his son. The whole book is written that way, except for maybe the very end. And so we're not changing the focus here. We're not changing the perspective of either the speaker or the audience. We're still listening to wisdom from the mouth of Solomon, as we have been since the beginning. Okay, chapter 22, starting in verse 17. Pay attention and listen to the sayings of the wise. Apply your heart to what I teach. Remember, heart in their day and time was where was the seat of your intellectual and thought processes. So we would say mind. So apply your mind, your inner workings of your thoughts, to what he's saying. For it is pleasing when you keep them, these teachings, these sayings, in your heart, and have all of them ready on your lips, so that your trust may be in the Lord. I teach you today, even you, whoever you may be. Have I not written 30 sayings for you? Sayings of counsel and knowledge, teaching you true and reliable words, so you can give sound answers to him who sent you? Excuse me. So here are the sayings, by the way. Do not exploit. That obviously was a rhetorical question. The answer to his question is yes. He has written us these 30 sayings. That was a rhetorical question. So here they begin. Do not exploit the poor because they are poor, and do not crush the needy in court. For the Lord will take up their case, and will plunder those who plunder them. Do not make friends with a hot-tempered man. Let me push it back just a bit. Do not make friends with a hot-tempered man. Do not associate with one easily angered, or you may learn his ways and get yourself ensnared. He might corrupt you. You might become like him, and that's not what you want to be. Do not be a man who strikes hands in pledge, or puts up security for debts. If you lack the means to pay, your very bed will be snatched from under you. Do not move an ancient boundary stone set up by your forefathers. This doesn't have a lot of meaning to us today. You know, if you remember when we read Joshua, when they came into the land, they set up their inheritances by tribe and by family and by clan and all that. They divided up by lot. They would mark off the lines of their territory with these boundary stones. So if you're moving a boundary stone, the idea would be you're doing that because you're gaining somebody's territory. If you want, it's like you'd be moving the boundary stone to expand your territory illegally at the expense of your neighbors. So don't do that. We wouldn't really have, it's basically just like don't take your neighbor's stuff. Like this, that'd be the principle here. We don't really have a system like this in application today, but it's basically like don't take your neighbor's land or possessions. Do you see a man skilled in his work? He will serve before kings. He will not serve before obscure men. So the cream of the crop rises to the top, in other words. That's what we would call that today. When you sit down to dine with a ruler, note well what is before you, and put a knife to your throat if you are given to gluttony. So behave yourself in front of your superiors. Do not crave his delicacies, for that food is deceptive. So when you're in the company of those who have authority over you, act sensibly and moderately. Don't give in to your cravings. Do not wear yourself out to get rich. Have the wisdom to show restraint. Cast but a glance at riches, and they are gone. For they will surely sprout wings and fly off to the sky like an eagle. All that gold and silver that Solomon accumulated in his time disappeared from the kingdom not long after he died. When we get back to the narrative, we're going to read about an invasion from a pharaoh from Egypt just a few years after Solomon's death. And he's going to come in, he's going to take a lot of that gold that Solomon accumulated. Not all of it, there will be some of it left. But over the course of time, more and more foreign invaders are going to come and get that gold. All that gold that Solomon kept, all accumulated. First of all, he didn't get to keep it when he died. And secondly, none of it is found in Israel today. It was all scattered and plundered, and who knows where it ended up over the centuries. That's one of the things that we get confused about when we look through Israel and try to find evidence of Solomon, and we don't find it directly because we expect to see all these great things he left behind, but we forget that not stuff isn't there anymore. It was all taken away. Okay, moving on. Do not eat the food of a stingy man. Do not crave his delicacies. For he is so this is a different thing. This is now, if you're in the presence of a miser, someone who doesn't like giving things out. For he is the kind of man who is always thinking about the cost. Eat and drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you. He's acting like he's remember, in this day and time, hospitality was a major thing. If you were a guest, I mean, if you were a homeowner and there was a traveler on the way, you're supposed to welcome that person into your home and treat them. Like that was an expected cultural norm in the world at this time. So this is someone who has welcomed someone into his home but doesn't really want to give him food and drink. Eat and drink, he's doing because he knows he's expected to. He knows that culturally he's supposed to, but he doesn't really want to. Eat and drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you. You will vomit up the little you have eaten, and will have wasted your compliments. Do not speak to a fool, for he will scorn the wisdom of your words. In Jesus' day, he's going to use language like, don't cast your pearls before pigs. And basically it's the same principle. Don't waste your time. Don't invest too much of your time and energy and your own self into people who are not going to appreciate it. If you've got a fool and a mocker who is simply not going to listen to your advice, don't bother with them. Don't waste your time trying to give them their advice. Your advice. Now, obviously, to a certain degree, you have to be wise enough to discern when someone is being a fool and a mocker and will refuse to listen to your advice. So you have to engage with this person to a certain degree to be able to tell and determine when this person has crossed the line from someone who just doesn't know any better to someone who's deliberately and purposely refusing to listen to you. The book of Proverbs talks about that. There's a difference between the young and gullible and unwise who just flat out don't know any better, and a difference between those who refuse to know better. So you have to know the difference between these people. You have to use your wisdom to discern when someone is just simply unwise and gullible and doesn't know any better, versus when he's a fool and a mocker and is actively, purposefully choosing not to know better. But when you do have someone like that, leave them. They're beyond the point where you need to continue investing yourself into them. Do not move an ancient boundary stone, there's that concept again, or encroach on the fields the fatherless. Again, that's taking advantage of somebody else's property. For their defender, and in this case it's the fatherless, so the reference here is to someone who doesn't have a defender. His father, presumably this is a young person or a child whose father is not around, and he can't defend his property himself. So that he has another defender up above. For their defender is strong, and he will take up their case against you. Apply your heart to instruction, and your ears to words of knowledge. Do not withhold discipline from a child. If you punish him with a rod, he will not die. Well, don't punish him too strictly with a rod, otherwise he might. Punish him with a rod, and you save his soul from death. My son, so there again is that reference to my son. So we know it's the same speaker speaking to the same audience that it's been all along. My son, if your heart is wise, then my heart will be glad. My inmost being will rejoice when your lips speak what is right. Do not let your heart envy sinners, but always be zealous for the fear of the Lord. Sometimes it can get easy to envy what others have or how others live. It seems like they're having more fun. It seems like they've got more stuff. You just wonder, man, I wonder, but don't do that. Don't fall into that trap of envying what they have or how they live. But always be zealous for the fear of the Lord. There is surely a future hope for you, and your hope will not be cut off. You might not be experiencing the blessings now that you think you should or that you'd like to or that God has promised you. Someone else may be experiencing things that look like blessings, and that person may be engaged in a sinful lifestyle. But you will get the blessings eventually. There is a future hope for you. Somewhere, maybe in this life, maybe later in this life, maybe not. But there will be. So don't envy what they have. Don't envy what they seem to have or how they live. Listen, my son, and be wise, and keep your heart on the right path. Do not join with those who drink too much wine or gorge themselves on meat. Now remember, back in those days, they didn't get to eat meat whenever they wanted to. It was not common. They ate it, but it was not. They usually ate bread. So talking about gorging themselves on meat means being gluttonous, engaging in a lavish lifestyle. For drunkards and gluttons become poor, and drowsiness clothes them in rags. Listen to your father who gave you life, and do not despise your mother when she is old. Buy the truth, and do not sell it. Get wisdom, discipline, and understanding. The father of a righteous man has great joy. He who has a wise son delights in him. May your father and mother be glad. May she who gave you birth rejoice. My son, give me your heart, and let your eyes keep to my ways. For a prostitute is a deep pit, and a wayward wife is a narrow well. So we're back to that imagery again of the adulterous woman, the woman who represents the path that leads away from righteousness. Like a bandit, she lies in wait and multiplies the unfaithful among men. Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has strife? Who has complaints? Who has needless bruises? Who has bloodshot eyes? Those who linger over wine, who go to sample bowls of mixed wine. Do not gaze at wine when it is red, when it sparkles in the cup, when it goes down smoothly. So you're looking at that wine. You want that wine. You see it, it's in the cup, it's sparkling, looks so good, tastes so good, you want it. Do not gaze at it. Do not let your eye linger on it. In the end, it bites like a snake and poisons like a viper. Your eyes will see strange sights, and your mind imagine confusing things. You'll be like one sleeping on the high seas, lying on top of the rigging. So Solomon knew a thing or two about drunkenness. Whether he experienced it in his life or not, or just witnessed others do it, he identified the signs of drunkenness. They will hit me, you will say, but I'm not hurt. I don't feel it. I don't feel anything. They beat me, but I don't feel it. When will I wake up so I can find another drink? Do not envy wicked men. Do not desire their company, men who are like that, in other words. Do not desire their company. For their hearts plot violence, and their lips talk about making trouble. By wisdom a house is built, and through understanding it is established. Through knowledge its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. Now you have to remember, when we talk about houses and households in the Old Testament, we're not just talking about an actual physical house or a building. It can mean that, but it has a much broader meaning than that. It really means establish your family and your legacy and your name. Like your house is you and all the people who come after you. Like David's house is not just David, it's David and all the sons that come after him. Solomon's house is not just his house, not just his actual physical dwelling place, but all him and all of his sons that come after. Even back earlier, we read about a wise woman building her house. And it's not referring to just literally the building in which she lives and takes up residence. It means her family. A wise woman builds up her family and her household. So in this case, this house is not necessarily just referring to a physical dwelling place. And the rooms and treasures in it aren't necessarily referring to like physical rooms and objects and artifacts that they put in these rooms. It's referring to a legacy, a household, a family. That is what. So when you read about houses and stuff like that in the Old Testament, you always have to keep that in mind. A wise man has great power, and a man of knowledge increases strength. For waging war, you need guidance, and for victory, many advisors. Wisdom is too high for a fool. In the assembly at the gate, which is where all the important people met to make decisions, he has nothing to say. He who plots evil will be known as a schemer. The schemes of folly are sin, and men detest a mocker. If you falter in times of trouble, how small is your strength? Rescue those being led away to death. Hold back those staggering toward slaughter. If you say, but we knew nothing about this, so you're claiming ignorance, in other words, does not he who weighs the heart perceive it? Does not he who guards your life know it? Will he not repay each person according to what he has done? Later on, we're going to have some people, and I think it's in the book of Obadiah, if I remember correctly, who are going to be condemned for standing back and not doing anything when somebody else needed help. So in this case, he's saying if you're trying to claim innocence and plead ignorance and say, I didn't know what was going on, someone knows better. Someone's going to see through that. Eat honey, my son, for it is good. Honey from the comb is sweet to your taste. Know also that wisdom is sweet to your soul. If you find it, there is a future hope for you, and your hope will not be cut off. Do not lie in wait like an outlaw against a righteous man's house. Do not raid his dwelling place. For though a righteous man falls 7 times, he rises again. But the wicked are brought down by calamity. Job fell, but he rose again. He was not brought down by the calamity like the wicked would be. Do not gloat when your enemy falls. When he stumbles, this is a hard one. This is a hard one. Do not gloat when your enemy falls. When he stumbles, do not let your heart rejoice. For the Lord will see and disapprove, and turn his wrath away from him. That's a tricky one. I like it when my enemies fall. I like defeating my enemies. I think we all do. That's a tricky one. Do not fret because of evil men, or be envious of the wicked. For the evil man has no future hope. I mentioned earlier about the future hope you have if you stay away from. Let's see, how do they say it exactly? Do not envy the sinners. You have a hope that they don't have. They may have pleasure and satisfaction, or at least seem to, in their lifestyle today, but you have a future hope they don't have. So do not fret because of the evil man, nor be envious of the wicked. For the evil man has no future hope, and the lamp of the wicked will be snuffed out. Fear the Lord and the king, my son, and do not join with the rebellion. For those two will send sudden destruction, the Lord and the king will send sudden destruction upon them, and who knows what calamities they can bring. These are also sayings of the wise. To show partiality in judging is not good. Whoever says to the guilty, you are innocent, people will curse him and nations will denounce him. But it will go well with those who convict the guilty, and rich blessing will come upon them. An honest answer is like a kiss on the lips. Finish your outdoor work and get your fields ready. After that, build your house. And again, when we talk about house, we're not necessarily talking about an actual physical house. What he's saying here really is get your work in order, and then you can have something to build your family off of. You're going to have stuff to take care of your people with. If you do your out, remember they were an agricultural society back then, so you grew your own food and raised your own livestock. So do that, get that taken care of, get your needs and provisions met, and then your house can be built. Do not testify against your neighbor without cause, or use your lips to deceive. Do not say, I'll do to him as he has done to me. I'll pay that man back for what he did. Don't say that. It's extremely easy to say. It's extremely common to think that way and feel that way. And as hard as it may be, refrain from doing that. Refrain from seeking vengeance that way. I went past, this is the author speaking, this is Solomon again speaking here. I went past the field of the sluggard, past the vineyard of the man who lacks judgment. Thorns had come up everywhere. The ground was covered with weeds, and the stone wall was in ruins. So this person, this sluggard, this drunkard, the man who lacked judgment had not been taking care of his stuff, and it had become overgrown and useless, a wilderness, not fit for use. I applied my heart to what I observed, and learned a lesson from what I saw. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a bandit, and scarcity like an armed man. It'll sneak up on you and it'll overpower you. With speed and with power. It'll come up on you quick like a bandit, and it'll overpower you like an armed man. So those were the sayings of the wise. We're not done with Proverbs. We have another section of Proverbs to go through. We'll do that in the next video.